AdamandJP.com.
Right now.
Exploring the multiverse of pop culture.
This is Casserole.
An Adam and JP show.
Hey, it's Casserole. I'm Jay Patrick. Welcome to our mini episode, or a bonus episode, whatever you want to call it. It's just an interview. It's an interview that I did last week with a buddy of mine, Elio Giordano. I met him over the last few months, and a cool guy, really cool guy, plays bass, plays upright bass. He came to town with his band in the 90s, and one thing led to another, and he has been on the road with countless names in music. And within the first few weeks of knowing Elio, he got me into a sound check with the Mavericks, which is a band he used to go on the road with. And if you don't know the Mavericks, fantastic band, amazing musicians, one of the really good bands in music today. So if you don't know the Mavericks, go check their stuff out. So Elio, and I, we hit it off and we chat all the time. And I was like, hey man, come in, let me just talk to you for like 30 minutes or whatever, and I'll make it a bonus episode of my podcast. And he agreed, so we got into the studio and just started chatting about music in Nashville. Like I said, he came to Nashville in the 90s. If you don't know, I grew up about an hour outside of Nashville, so I've been around the music city my entire life. So it's interesting, the conversations that we have about how much Nashville has changed over the years and where you can still find the good music and where it's all tourist music. So I'm going to shut up and let you listen to my chat with Elio. Oh, first, I want to remind you, make sure you join us this Friday for a Friday the 13th edition of Casserole. We have a special This Week in NWO News, and also we go through the entire franchise of Friday the 13th, from the 1980 movie that started it all, through the reboot and the video games and the TV show. So it's a special Friday the 13th edition of Casserole this week. And here's my chat with Elio. All right, Elio.
Yes, JP.
Here's your chance.
Okay.
For the record.
Oh, no. Don't give me a for the record.
On the record.
Don't give me a for the record. What do you... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, we won't go that far. Your first and last name, the correct pronunciation.
Elio Giordano.
Okay.
Now, it depends what part of the country you're in.
Right.
If you're in New York, it's Elio Giordano. And if you're in Maine, it's Elio Giordano.
And if you're in Nashville, it's Elio.
It's E.
Elio?
It's just E. Everybody calls me E. Well, that's how I know who knows me and who thinks they know me.
Uh-huh.
I get the Elio, and it's like, okay.
Elio, I got a question.
Yeah.
Because when I first met you, I heard like everybody pronounce your name differently.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just like, hey, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, buddy.
So
buddy
now,
works good, too, because it eases the tension. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
It sounds friendlier.
Yeah.
I find it works really well. Everybody's like, we're buddies? Cool.
I didn't know I had a friend. So, man, how long have you been playing the guitar?
I've been playing since I was like 12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I took like my first lessons when I was younger than that, but I couldn't get an F chord because my finger wouldn't bar the two chords, so I gave up.
Right.
And then I came back later on in life, like around 12, 13 years old, and then I started playing constantly.
And you're still playing 3-4 nights a week now?
Yeah, I was playing 6 nights a week and working at the station, and then I started playing with Susie Bogus, and that kind of let me ease off of the in-town thing, so I keep my own gigs in town. So I play 3 nights a week in town with my own gigs, and then 1 gig with a buddy of mine that I just don't want to give up.
Susie Bogus, you went on the road with her recently.
Yep.
Are you doing that on the weekends? Are you going out on the road with her?
On the weekends, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly weekends. I mean, sometimes it kind of bleeds over, but for the most part.
Is she doing casinos?
No, she's actually doing like performance art theaters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're really good listening rooms. I'm sure there's going to be casino dates as well. But she's doing like performance art theaters and like small acoustic venues that are just, it's really nice. It's an acoustic trio. She plays guitar. A friend of mine, Craig Smith, plays guitar, acoustic, and I play upright bass. And it's just, the volume is beautiful. I mean, at the end of the show, we do an acoustic thing with no microphones at all.
So I've always wondered, the casino dates,
Mhm.
they pay good?
They pay in buffet.
Really? I guess it's just as good as money.
No, they all pay the same. But
Yeah.
you get the benefits of a casino. You get the buffet. You
You get a fat
the,
stack of chips to take to the roulette table?
You get whatever you need. Get whatever you need. Yeah, you get the special treatment at the casinos.
Yeah.
I love the casinos.
I
When
would.
you're with an artist, it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Because they treat you like royalty.
Oh man, yeah, you're it.
You get a suite,
You get everything.
all you can eat.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning.
All right.
First time you went out on the road, who did you go out on the road with?
The very, very first gig I ever did was with a guy named Steve Azar.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was my first Nashville on the road gig because I was on the road as a kid. And we had our own bus and we traveled for years. But my first road gig paid Nashville was Steve Azar. I think it was like 96. I think and it was a 16-day run. We went, like my first time out was a 16-day run. And this is actually kind of funny. We were on the bus in Tyler, Texas, and the air conditioning went out. And I was on the top bunk. And
Ugh,
I'd never
in the
been
summer?
in the summer. It was 115 degrees outside and like 155 in the bus. And it just went out. And I thought I was going to die. I mean, I woke up pounding on the roof of the bus. We're all going to die. And everybody was like, oh, my God. It's like my first time on the road. I'm like, we're all going to die.
You're going to die in a tin
Yeah,
can.
exactly. Yeah, I had all these flashbacks of horror movies that I'd seen. I was like, this is not what I thought.
So you played with Steve Azar in the late 90s, mid-90s, early 90s. Is that when you first come to Nashville?
I came in 95, actually.
Okay.
Yep.
So right in the middle of the Hat Act
Oh, yeah.
phenomenon.
We were supposed to be Little Texas. We were brought to town by a record producer because we won a True Value Showdown, so we were supposed to be Little Texas. And then Little Texas beat us to the punch.
Little Texas was Little Texas.
Little Texas was Little Texas, yep.
And now lead singer of Little Texas, he's doing the big band stuff, right?
Yeah,
Tim Rushlow.
yeah. As am I.
Oh, that's right. You're doing
Yeah.
the big band stuff
Yeah,
too.
Yep.
Because you play, and I know we're going to jump around here, but you've played just about every venue between the city limit sign of Nashville and the
yeah.
river.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
In the 25 years I've been here, I've opened every single club except for maybe 6.
Wow.
I did the grand opening for every club, or at least played the grand opening week of every club, except for like 6 or 7. And they're popping up every hour, so there might be more since I've counted. But there's probably 35 clubs open by the time we're done with this. You know what I mean?
Do you have a favorite place to play downtown?
Bootleggers?
Yeah.
It's just it's a magic room. The first time I ever played there, it's just magic. I mean, that room with one speaker, one monitor, just one front house speaker, one monitor, it's the best place there is to play. We get more fans out of that room. We get more fun out of that room. We make more money out of that room. That little tiny room,
And but the nice thing about Bootleggers is it's kind of a locals place.
Yeah.
It's not a tourist place.
It is it's funny because my wife and I were talking about this last night. It's a musician's place.
Mm-hmm.
People go there for music. They don't go there for pedal taverns and yeehaw. Right. They go, everything we get, like last night there was a guy from Germany and this happens all the time there. It's the jazz influences you guys have in there and the swing influences you guys have in there and the way you run the gamut, you can't do that at other places. Bootleggers, you can do whatever you want to do. It's free reign. As long as it's good, they're happy. And the kind of people that we get, they're musical people. They're asking for classic country. They're asking for swing. They're asking for, we did a jazz song called Suitcase Blues. And I always say it's a jazz song. And it's actually a song from a band called Triumph in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And the guy goes, "That's Triumph." And I was like, "No way." He goes, "Yeah, that's Triumph." I go, "How do you know?" You know, so he and I were immediately best friends. You know, it was cool.
That is the cool thing. I mean, Nashville has obviously changed in my lifetime and since you've been here in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But it is cool that it is still that town where you can find that certain venue and you can make musical connections with the performers on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's the stuff on 2nd Avenue. There's the, the themed bars. There's all of that
Right.
kind of plastic Nashville. But there still is good music venues.
Yeah,
Even
there-
downtown.
Yeah, there are a handful of really good music venues where you could see some of the best players in the world, you know, any day of the week.
So you come to town in the mid-90s and with your band, right?
Mm-hmm.
And were you playing upright bass in that band? Or?
I was playing electric bass and fronting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were a front bass player.
Oh, I've always been.
Oh, wow.
This is actually
Yeah.
kind of different for me to sit behind a microphone with no bass guitar. I've never done it. I've done it once actually, and it was for a Tin Pan South thing. I did Steve Perry tribute, and I sang Steve Perry, and I had no bass in my hand. And if ever I needed a bass, it was that gig.
Steve Perry. That's
Yeah.
gonna be tough.
It was.
I didn't know you had Steve Perry's range.
Oh yeah, I do.
wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a story in itself.
Oh, it's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. It really is.
So you get to town, and this really is a town of connections.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did it take you to start making those connections that would introduce you to this person, and then you'd end up going on the road with this person? I guess we should probably go through a list of who you've been out on the road with. But
Yeah, we're gonna be here a while. I can't keep a job.
so so what do you credit as that first big connection that you were able to make?
The first thing, so a guitar player that played with my band came down. We came down together, and he was just a virtuoso from way back when, and everybody wanted him to play. And we were roommates, and they called the house looking for him, and they were like, they said, is Andy there? We need a guitar player. And a friend of mine said, well, what kind of guitar player? And they're like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, do you need a bass player? Because a bass player lives here too. and I ended up getting a gig at a place called Cotton Eye Joe's, and I met so many people there. It was ridiculous. I mean, like the first week I played there, we played a St. Jude's benefit with Bill Monroe and Tim McGraw.
Oh, wow.
Like my first week in town.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Yeah, and it just snowballed. And I see people from there these years later, and it's a lot of successful musicians, guys that play with Martina McBride and Sammy Kershaw. Got to do some work with him, and all kinds of stuff. That's really the first step.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up now. Have you done a lot of studio stuff? You and I've never talked about. Have you done a lot of studio stuff before?
I have. I've not like a ton.
Yeah.
I'm not like a Tom Bukovac.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I've done several master sessions. I did some with Raul Malo, some Maverick stuff. I did. I actually did a master session with Steve Azar and Brett Favre.
For what?
For Gridiron Records. It was just like, it was a big thing. All these football players got, Terry Bradshaw did it, it was really cool.
What did Brett Favre sing?
Oh, some American Girl song that Steve wrote. It was pretty.
Can he
good.
sing?
Is this on?
But was he at least self-aware enough to know that he's not a
Oh yeah,
performer?
yeah, absolutely.
And just had fun with it.
He was just having
Yeah.
fun. He's just hooping and hollering, and yeah.
Because I can't imagine that's exactly the approach that Terry Bradshaw would take.
Terry Bradshaw can sing.
Really?
Terry Bradshaw can sing. He was a country singer in the 70s. Yeah,
Did he have a record out?
I think so. I believe he did. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yes.
Bradshaw's got pipes.
Yeah. Not
No
far.
clue. Not far. Hell of a quarterback.
Yeah. Exactly.
Can't sing for crap.
No. Exactly.
So is you mentioned the Mavericks.
Uh-huh.
Is that the longest you were out on the road with one group? Because you were with the Mavericks a long time.
Well, I did the Mavericks for a few years and Raul's solo stuff for a few years, so they kind of tie together. I'm trying to think of the longest thing. I guess that would be the longest thing I did. Tanya Tucker on and off for about 4 years. Andy Griggs for about 3. Pam Tillis and Kathy Mattea on and off for a couple of years. I think the Mavericks would probably be the longest thing between them and Raul, like together, you know, because I never was really big on being out of town all the time. I liked playing in town, you know, when it was, you know, not when it was old Nashville. It was so fun to be downtown, you know. It was just, I don't know. It's like when BR was hitting big, BR 549 and all that stuff, and downtown was getting revitalized.
Oh, I love that rockabilly stuff of the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, that was such a cool era, you know? And that carried over, like, you know, Robert's other acts would be like that. You know, we would kind of be like that, and, you know. But as far as being on the road constantly, you know, I think I get it's just like people visiting the house. You have a 5-day rule. You know what I mean?
Right.
After those 5 days, things change, you know? So
when you really start to like,
oh, yeah.
Like everybody's not pretending anymore.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you really get to know somebody.
Yeah.
Then you find out whether you can be with them for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Because everybody can pretend to be friendly for a couple of days.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and even you could still be friendly and be friends, but you just get, if you're not really wanting to be out there that long, then it starts to take its toll on you. I mean, with the Mavericks, my God, we would go out for 2 months.
Right.
At a time.
And international.
International, yeah.
Not
we
just
spent
continental, but
we spent a month in Australia and then went from there to the UK, and it was like, wow, you know. And you're in a different country too, so you know, I guess I'm like old fashioned where I just so used to what I'm used to, you know. And then when you get out there, it just everything seems so weird, you know. So different.
Joined the Mavericks right after what was the album that you, because they just released an album and then you joined?
Back in Your Arms Again.
Okay.
When they did that, well, actually, I was out with Raul doing a few years with him, and then he came to me one day and he's like, hey, I got good news and I got bad news. And I was like, okay. He goes, well, I know you're a Mavericks fan. He goes, the good news is the band's back together. Or, yeah, the good news is the band's back together. I was like, oh, my God, that's awesome. He goes, the bad news is that I'm not going to be doing any more solo dates. I said, I don't care. I'm just glad the Mavericks are back together. He goes, oh, I got more good news. I said, what? He goes, I want you to play bass. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I want you to play bass. I said, what about Robert? He goes, Robert wants you to play bass. I was like, what? So to me, that was like being asked to be in the Beatles and Paul McCartney just saying, yeah, I'll just play guitar. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. They were my Beatles, right. You know? So, yeah, it was cool. Very cool.
So you're playing upright bass for the Mavericks internationally. How is that to get around from country to country, an upright bass?
Well, for a while, it was, you know, you'd have to backline basses and stuff, so you never know what you're going to get. And, you know, you'd get these basses where you'd have blisters on top of blisters and bleeding fingers by the third song. And then, and this has actually been around a long time, a buddy of mine, Charlie Chadwick, he makes the Chadwick folding bass, which just about everybody uses now. And it basically folds the upright neck into the body. You pack it. It goes on an airplane. It's no bigger than a suitcase. And it's, you know, that made it convenient. The case kind of looks like a coffin, so it's a little weird. So with the Mavericks, I wore top hats. So I had a top hat and a coffin everywhere I went.
Hey, look, it's The Undertaker.
Well, everybody was like, are you guys magicians? I said, we're musicians.
God's magician.
They'd always be like, are you a magician? I was like, I'm a musician.
Watch me pull a bass out of this box.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Put my spell on you. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom.
So the folding bass, and that was featured, like you were telling me, wasn't there, like somebody was following the Mavericks around doing a documentary?
Oh.
And they just became enthralled with your folding bass.
Yeah, the BBC was covering a show we were doing in Australia, and I was unfolding the bass, and the guy came over, and he was like, what is that? And I said, it's a folding bass. He goes, stop what you're doing. And he went, and he goes, I got to grab a camera. And he came back over with the camera. He goes, do you mind starting over? I'm like, no problem. So I started over, and he did it. He was like, after we were done, he was just amazed. And it's amazing. It's amazing that this thing can be like this. And he was just like, I know I'm going to need this tape one day. I was like, yeah, you are. I said, you are for sure. He goes, I just knew I had to take a video of this. I knew I was going to need it. So,
the big rooms around Nashville, Ramen, Opry House,
Mm-hmm.
acoustically,
Mhm.
as a performer.
Mm-hmm.
How great is the Ryman Auditorium?
It's incredible. Yeah, that's the first time I ever played the Opry was on the Ryman,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just, it sounds amazing. It sounds, I mean, I don't, it's hard to describe. It's just perfect. Well, plus the sound crew and everybody for the Opry, they have it together so well that it's just flawless, you know? I mean, you get exactly what you need, exactly. There ought to be a Opry sound class for everybody for how quick they can get it, how good they get it. So
Well, they've
quickly.
been doing it for a while.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Well, I mean, you know, you go to these festivals and these guys, you know, they roll a drum riser out and they plug in the cables and all that. They're like, you got what you need? It's like, yeah. And then you need something. And then they're like eating a sandwich. And you're like, yeah, I still need, you know.
That monitor.
Yeah, yeah.
My bass isn't plugged in yet.
Yeah. Oh, that's happened.
Yeah.
That has happened. That, I mean, more than once, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still playing. As soon as you get it,
Boom, boom,
that
boom,
will
boom.
be in there. Yeah, exactly. I have done the bass parts on the mic before. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just because, and you know, people laugh, thankfully. You know, because if you weren't, you'd be crying. You know, it's like, oh no, there's no sound. It's the Opry. There's no sound.
So the big outdoor festivals.
Yeah.
How many of those have you done?
Many. We did. I've done. I have no idea count wise, but I mean, we've done shows that, like when you do those festivals, there's multi-stages, you know, and the Mavericks, like overseas, are a really big deal. They literally are like Elvis and the Beatles over there, you know. And when I was with them, it was pretty huge. I mean, on our bill would be like U2, you know, and you know, Santana. They did. I wasn't there for that one, but they did Santana's show in Barcelona, of all the places,
Wow.
you know. But you know, those festivals are immense. You know, we did one up in Minnesota or something, and Kiss was on it.
Wow.
We were like, what? So it was like us, then Todd Rundgren, and then Kiss. And I was like, this is great. You know, it was awesome.
So the interesting thing about the Mavericks, and the reason why I'm a fan is, and I know they had some radio hits.
Mm-hmm.
They have had plenty of radio hits, but they are a fantastically talented band, musically speaking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they do what they do, and they take what everybody else does and do it their way, and they just they make it their own, and they make it just incredible.
And that's some of the fun of watching the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Is watching them do a cover.
Oh yeah, their covers are huge.
Yeah.
You know, all their covers are just, I mean, the songs start out legendary, and then to put a legendary band behind it like that, it's just, you know, it's pretty awesome.
So when you're with the Mavericks and you guys are out and the night comes up, then do you know beforehand, or how far in advance do you know what cover song you might be doing that night?
Sometimes, for the most part, you know, because there's so many instruments on stage that it's really an arrangement, you know. But there have been times when we've been like, you know, Raoul Holler, you know, I don't even remember, like Bright Side of the Road, you know, Van Morrison or something. And we're like, oh, okay, you know, you guys know that one? Or if he gets like in a classic country mood or something, we'll be down at like Green Hall, you know, and that's real down home, you know.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, let's just do, you know, Crazy Arms. And we're like, all right, cool. You know, it just goes with the vibe, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
As a musician, and obviously you've had plenty of experiences to pick up a lot of stuff, but do you feel like you're always learning? Or do you still feel like at this point in your 20-plus year career, you're still learning?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah, you're either learning the business, you're learning yourself, how you fit into the music scene, or you're learning music, songs. I mean, you're constantly learning songs, you know? But I play with such great players that I watched them do things that I wish I could do, you know, and guys that I've been playing with for years, and I'm still watching them do it, and I'm like, oh, I still can't do that, you know? It's just,
And I'm sure there's stuff that you can do that they watch and they're like, how does he do that? I didn't know the bass could do that.
I don't know. They don't let on. They definitely don't let on. You don't get that. Man, I'm going to spend hours trying to do what you're trying to do.
In all fairness, the bass is a bit underrated to begin with.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, it's part of the band that if it wasn't there, you'd miss it, but you probably most, average listeners wouldn't know why they miss it.
Yeah, and the cool thing for me is being a front guy that I implement it into my vocals as much as possible.
Like Sting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't always have to be noodling to be doing something,
Right.
So, but when I want to, I can. And since I sing, I can get out of my own way and feature the bass. And I do that, I feature all the instruments. I kind of get out of the way because, you've got players to play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And people make that mistake. They don't let the players play. They're like, you play the part, and that's the end of it, and that's, and that's where the Mavericks are so great is that there's so much opportunity for free-form jam, and, that's what I do. I've been doing that for years because, I got some of the greatest players there are playing. It's like, what are you going to let them sit there and strum all night? No, we're not making a record. We're entertaining, so let them play.
Is it still fun?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we played last night at Bootleggers. We had an absolute ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, it was a long day, and after working the station and stuff and going into play, sometimes you don't always want to play, but about 3 songs into it, once it kicks in, you're like, oh, yeah, that's right, and we had a ball, and they did too.
And that's the important thing, because I think there's that, like I talked about, that musical connection. And I think a big part of that is how much the performers are enjoying being there as much as the audience.
Yeah, if they see us having fun, they're going to have fun, and we definitely have fun. And that's, you got to get out of your own head long enough to enjoy yourself when you're playing music, because you could really mess yourself up overthinking, because we have a job to keep people entertained, and you can't have that lull in the show. But at the same time, you got to be true to what you're doing, So if you're playing somewhere besides Bootleggers, one of the bigger venues, and you want to do Suitcase Blues, that Triumph song I was telling you about, people are going to be like, oh, why are we not? Hell yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and you got to, not every gig is as easy as that.
But that's the difference in music fan and tourist.
Well,
or music fans and tourists.
There is that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's funny that they're 2 different categories.
Well, they really are.
In Music City.
Yeah. Because,
Well, should we call it Bachelorette City now?
Oh, yeah, Bachelorette party. It's just crazy. Like, we were down there last weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was there like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
On Broadway. The pedal taverns are at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Oh,
the
yeah.
pedal taverns are full.
Yeah.
And you're seeing people stumble around. It's almost like,
I know.
I don't know. I can't imagine what New Orleans was like 20 years ago, but it almost has like a New Orleans vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
in some areas.
It's there for sure. And 2 of the worst things I would want to do in the morning is drink and pedal a bike. So I have no desire to be in that downtown vibe.
But in Nashville, you could do both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Make a list of the things you never want to do. Come on down. Start early.
But these are the people that are only going to pop in if they hear what's a safe name I can throw out and not offend anybody?
Nothing.
If they hear a Florida Georgia Line song,
sure,
yeah,
they'll
coming
come in
from a club, they're going to come in
because
they can, dance by themselves and hold their beer up and scream, woohoo.
Well, and I'm, we've been in this town so long. It's almost like we have this. I wouldn't say a right, but like a seniority. You know what I mean? And we're like, and we're just honest about it. I tell everybody, I'm like, look, we don't play anything past 1985. 1985 and back. I apologize up front. Bunch of old dudes playing a bunch of old music.
Yeah.
Hope you're okay with that. And, I'll preface a couple of things. I'll just say, look, this is a song you're not going to hear on a pedal tavern, And they respond, there is an audience that gets that.
Right.
And you'd be surprised. It's a lot of tourists, but they're foreign tourists. You know what I mean? There are a lot of like German and English and Australian, Scottish. That crowd is like just they're. It's not that they're purists, but they're so honored to be in Nashville and be around the Nashville music. And the Nashville music they're talking about is the stuff from 1985 and back, you know? So, yeah, we make no apologies. Well, we do make apologies, I should say. We make our apology. I apologize. Bunch of old dudes playing a bunch of old music, so.
It was more song-driven music, songwriting.
Yes.
Songwriter-driven music.
Exactly.
There's a little more feeling to it. It's not, I used the word plastic earlier. It's not plastic. There is a lot of plastic country music right now.
Well, sure, yeah.
And that's a safe statement. I don't think anyone can argue against that.
No, I mean, it's the progression of music over time.
Which is great because it makes a lot of money and it brings a lot of tourists to the town. And
it's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of jobs for musicians.
Exactly.
And record labels do well.
So it's very positive, but the stuff that you're playing at Bootleggers on a Monday night is more soulful, I think.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. And soulful. I mean, we do the R&B stuff. We'll do the old Ray Charles and we'll do all that stuff. We don't just do country. We do the jazz. We do the swing. We do Sinatra. I mean, like our second request was somebody hollered out Sinatra because they probably saw the Upright. And we did it, and they loved it, and it's, it's nice to be able to find that many people in one spot that will pay attention to that closely to that kind of music, especially downtown.
Yeah.
It
is a crazy, crazy place.
It is. It's crazier by the day.
So where are you playing like through the week? Like what's your weekly gigs?
So Mondays I play Bootleggers, and like Tuesdays and Wednesdays I kind of alternate at the Omni, at bar lines at the Omni, and Thursdays I play out at Music City behind the Palace out here at Opryland with a guy named Adam Fisher, who is just hysterical. He's a great guy. We're all great friends, and he's just the one gig that I won't give up. You know what I mean?
Right.
All things else, I just won't give up playing with him. He's just so funny, and we're good friends. But and I was, and recently is when I gave up my weekends. Literally the past 2 weeks, because I was playing Nashville Underground on Fridays and Saturdays, and George Jones on Saturdays. We actually opened that place, when Miss Nancy opened it years ago. So, a couple of years ago. So, yeah, but the regular thing now is basically Bootleggers, Omni, and then Music City Bar, and and then the fill-in gigs at AJ's and Roberts and whatever else comes along. So,
the Nashville Palace is another one of those long-standing traditional Nashville music venues.
Yep,
it's not been open within the last 6 months.
Yeah,
with an artist name attached to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the first places you ever played. When I came to town, it was on the corner, and then Steve Hill and the Nashville Palace Band played there, and they used to get us up and play because we were down here to do, the Ernest Tubbs Midnight Jamboree with an artist, and
which is right behind the Nashville Palace.
Yeah, and. It was the old one, actually. It was the old, that little strip that they had just behind there next to Fiddler's Inn before they even put that mall in.
Right.
And then, we walked over to the Palace, and, we were cool. We were a 90s band. We had the jackets. We were, we're
going to be Little Texas.
Oh, yeah, man. We had hair. We had, We had, snakeskin pants and boots and jackets, and we were cool. And we walked over to the Palace, and Steve was like, "You guys a band?" We're like, "Yeah." We're a band, yeah. And he's like, "You guys want to get up and play?" We're like, "Sure, we'll get up and play." And we got up and played, and our drummer, I don't even remember what happened. He took off with somebody, and we ended up playing with his drummer, who is Willie Cantu, was Buck Owens' drummer for years.
Oh, wow.
And Willie was just like, he's like, "What do you guys want to play?" Liza Jane. We're like, "Okay, play Liza Jane." I was like, "Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. I was like, no, that's way too fast. He's like, "I'm sorry, man, I already started," and we're playing, and I was so mad. I was like, "Oh my God, he ruined our first time in Nashville," And then it's so funny because Willie and I are buddies now. And we play together. And he's like, "You remember that first time at the Palace?" I was like, I thought my career ended in one song, buddy. He's
Liza Jane.
Yeah, Liza Jane. It was like, tick, 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 tick. I was like, oh my God, you got my number. You got my name. I was like, Willie, you're doing it bluegrass. You're killing me, you know? It was horrible. But they got us up again. Yeah, time and again, so it was cool.
So, well, it doesn't fall into the before 1985, but do you ever play Liza Jane now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, people ask for it. It's a standard.
It's a standard.
Is that crazy? It's a standard. Yeah.
What do you play the most? What song?
Oh, wow. Well,
at the Omni, because I figured the Omni is going to be a little different crowd
than
you have at Bootleggers.
Yeah, the Omni is we try to like do 80s type music,
Right.
all of it, like the Restless Heart and the the Marty Stewart and all that 80s stuff that people really like and don't really get to hear much. But well, we play Working Man Blues. I think I open with it pretty much every night because it's a great song to kind of flush things out. Everybody gets to play on it. It's familiar. And even if something's really bad, you can recover from it. You know what I mean? It's just, that song is like a concrete block.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't mess it up. And so if the sound is bad, they can dial it in. And if we're not right, we can dial it in. But, that's usually the one we play every single night. Well, I mean, we play so many songs every night. We play Amos Moses, Jerry Reed. We play, House of Blue Lights, Asleep at the Wheel. That's an upright tune. We just...
Do you ever play Bandana on the Outside Looking In?
No.
Remember that song?
On the Outside Looking In. Oh, my God.
Bandana.
Holy. Where did you get that?
On the outside.
Where did you get that?
It just popped in my head.
Holy.
That, and I was going to ask, before I said Bandana, I was going to say, do you ever play Razzie Bailey, 999,000?
Oh, my God. Razzie Bailey. I haven't even heard that name in years. Razzie Bailey.
Razzie Bailey's got an album. It's so funny. He's waving on the front. And then on the back, if you flip it over, he's looking behind and he's waving. And it's like, hey, welcome to Razzie Bailey's career. Yeah. And there it goes. Oh, sorry.
You are now leaving 1985.
Actually, that was it, 9,999,000. That's actually a really good song.
Oh, yeah. He had a few.
Yeah.
Razzie Bailey. Wow. Holy. I thought I was reaching with like T. Graham Brown and stuff, Razzie Bailey.
The T. Graham Brown, T.G. Shepherd.
T.G. Shepherd. Yeah. Man, somebody asked for Slow Hand last night, the Conway Twitty song. You want a man.
Not the Pointer Sisters version?
Hand. Well, I did doctor it up. Yeah, right. And I've never done that. I couldn't believe I'd never played that song. And of course, everybody's got their phone in their face on their microphone stand, which, as a senior in this town, I'm like, oh, I have a hard time with it. So I don't do that. But I Googled it to see it, and we did that song and I could not, I don't know why the words wouldn't stick. There's only 2 verses and I could usually do that in my sleep, but it wouldn't stick. And this guy was holding my phone for me last night. And I'm singing Slow Hand and I'm like, okay, scroll. He goes, okay, thanks, buddy. And he fist bumped me and walked away. I was like, I didn't know what to sing. I'm like, I don't remember the words.
Come back.
Yeah, and the door guy comes over. He's like, oh, I got it. Here you go. I was like, oh my God, yeah.
You need a man.
Yeah,
no, that's not the one.
Yeah,
that's not it.
There's no bridge in here. Stop playing a bridge. It's going to be horrible.
Well, I'm kind of don't want to ask this because I don't want to put you in a weird spot, but I mean, you've been on the road a lot.
Yeah.
There has to be crazy road stories you can tell.
Oh, yeah. That I can tell? No. There are crazy road stories, yeah. None that I could tell. I think the only one I could tell is me waking up with the broken air conditioner.
That's it. No, you cannot tell any Maverick stories.
No, I can't tell Maverick stories, and I can't tell Tanya Tucker stories, and no. Those, no.
Oh, we'll just have to imagine.
No, I mean, we have plenty of stories, all kinds of stuff happens on the road. People followed us around, suspecting us of things because of certain reputations.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, nobody listening knows what I'm talking about either. And it just, it would lead to interesting things. I mean, there was a time when I think I can tell this one. We were on an airplane flying to Australia, and there was a guy sitting next to me, and he was a nicely dressed gentleman. He had dreadlocks. He looked like what you want to look like as a musician. You know what I mean? Like he was a jazzer or something. And the dogs came to our seats, my seat actually, and they were on the plane, and I was like, I don't know what you're looking for, but I ain't got nothing, And we got off at the baggage claim, and there was like 4 guys waiting for me there, and they were like, "Sir, you need to come with us there, sir." And I'm like, "All right." They said, "The dog hit on your chair," and I was like, "What?" It's like, "The dog hit on your chair." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm standing here, and they're like, "Do you have any illegal substances?" I'm like, "No." They said, the dog hit on your chair. And I'm like, that's okay. And they said, he goes, anyone with you have any illegal? I was like, no. And they go, well, what about the gentleman sitting next to you? And I said, you know what? That guy slept the whole way from California to Australia. And they were like, okay, you wait here. And then they brought the guy back over, and I felt so bad. But I was like, it wasn't me. And then the dogs were like pouncing bags and stuff, and we were there for hours. Hours.
And now, like Bandana, he's on the outside looking in.
I'm on the outside looking in. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to be, yeah.
All I have is the magic of music, sir. That's all I'm carrying.
I'm a musician.
Well, hey, buddy, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
We'll do it again very soon.
Cool.
This has been a production of the Adam and JP family of on-demand talk radio.
AdamandJP.com.
Right now.